Hello, my name is Michael Fortin, and I'm going to be talking about preparing your learner's mindset in the world of sales. So to start off, I'm just going to briefly talk about my role. I am a sales trainer, and the reason why I want to talk a little bit about my role is that it's unique as compared to other posts in this forum, in the fact that I don't have a class of students that I'm teaching an entire curriculum for 5, 6, 7 weeks. I typically teach sales representatives in workshops. So I have 1-2 days maximum with this class of people to get a full curriculum delivered. The reason why I mention that is it can make it a little bit more challenging. I've got a shorter time window to take the students in my class from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, and then finally to a learner's mindset. I want to briefly summarize an article that I read by Carol Dweck, and it was called What Having a Growth Mindset Actually Means, because it really resonated, especially to my world, which is teaching sales representatives. So to briefly sum up her findings, she said that individuals who believe that their talents can be developed through hard work, good strategies, and input from others have a growth mindset. And the reason why that resonated to me is because she also states this is because they worry less about looking smart and put more energy into learning. So typically when I'm coaching or training sales reps, they're very concerned about how others perceive them. So if they're worried less about how others are perceiving them, I can teach them a lot easier and actually have the concepts that I'm trying to get them to learn actually stick. So this is incredibly relevant in my world of teaching salespeople. In Dwayne Hrabnick's video called Feed Forward versus Feedback, it was mentioned that many of those with a fixed mindset feel that they are as good as it gets, and that if they face challenges, it can be very difficult for them to do anything about that. And this especially resonates me with our sales team because we have a lot of sales representatives that I train that have been doing this job for a long time, and they have had a lot of success in sales. So very often it can be challenging to teach them because their perception is, I've been doing this for years, I already know what I need to know, so why am I here actually taking a class? The next workshop that I'm going to be teaching will be focusing on successful prospecting in the sales environment. Now, this is a brand new concept that actually has not been taught to our sales reps before. So, like I mentioned earlier, I am concerned that our more experienced sales representatives feel that their success is a testament to their ability to effectively cold call and prospect. Then we have our sales reps that might have less experience. They tend to feel that their colleagues, their senior reps, will teach them what they need to know. So their mindset is also thinking, I can learn what I need to do from my colleagues that have already had success. Why am I here today as well? So as an educator, the challenge that I have is to get the participants in my workshop to realize that regardless of your success or experience, there is still room to improve upon the skill of cold calling and prospecting, while I still recognize and respect their experience and their current skill set. So the question is, how do I do this? So the first thing I need to do is address the I'm as good as it gets perception. Now, it's really important that when I address this, I'm not trying to make them believe that they don't know anything about this concept, because if I do that, right away, they're going to be overwhelmed thinking, if I don't know anything about this, how am I going to learn what I need to know in one day? So there needs to be a balance between still having confidence in some ability, yet still being open to learning and understanding that you might not know everything. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the day off with an activity called What Does Your Current Prospecting Look Like? So this is an individual activity that I'm going to ask everybody in the workshop to take 5 minutes and take their smartphone and record themselves doing what we call an elevator pitch. It's also known as a cold calling speech, or how you would introduce yourself or your company when you're prospecting with a potential client. So what they're going to do is record that and then put it aside for a few minutes. And then I'm going to go into an introductory module where I actually briefly summarize what points to include in a successful prospecting message, and then play an actual recording from the course of somebody that has executed an effective prospecting message. Then I'm going to get them individually to compare their recording from a few minutes ago to the recording that they actually have heard where it's an effective prospecting, and identify areas of improvement. So what I'm hoping that this is going to do is for those people in the class that feel that they are as good as it gets, do realize that, hey, my messaging wasn't perfect and there is some room for improvement. So I'm engaged. I can actually learn something from today. There might be a few tidbits I can get out of this. The second step is to ensure that as the course facilitator, I'm establishing a safe environment for feedback or feed forward. It's really important to do that so that there's no intimidation and that everybody is comfortable with each other, because if they're not going to be receptive to feedback, and they also might be a little bit apprehensive in giving feedback to their colleagues. So the first thing I'm going to do as an instructor is to make sure it's laid out that nobody is perfect at this. And I do have some statistics that I'm going to share with the group in my introduction, that typically only 30% of sales representatives effectively prospect. So by doing that, I can let everyone know, saying, hey, it's okay that you're not perfect at this. It's okay that you don't know exactly how to do this, because the majority of the people in the same position as you don't. So again, it resets that playing field so that everyone knows that it's all right that I'm not an expert. The second thing is strategically combining groups. So there are individual activities that involve feedback when you present what you've actually been working on. Now, I'm not going to be doing feedback where it's the entire class critiquing one person's work. I'm breaking them up into groups so it's less intimidating. But I also have the luxury of knowing these individuals and what their personalities are and what their dynamics are, either through one-on-one interaction I've had in my role or through working with their sales managers. So I can strategically combine the group so that I don't have too many high A personalities and too many introverts in one group. I can mix them well together so that the dynamics are conducive to an environment to give and receive feed forward. So establishing a learner's mindset is a little bit more challenging as well, given the fact that I only have this group for 8 hours. And one of the key aspects of establishing a learner's mindset is changing the learning environment. And how do I do that in just 8 hours? So the plan that I have is to actually work with these sales managers that do work with these sales representatives on a day-to-day basis. So the day prior to this workshop, I am going to be doing a brief presentation to the sales managers, giving them a high-level overview of what's going to be taught. The sales managers will also be participating in the one-day course as well. I'm also providing a guide on what they should be coaching in the real world after we teach this. So the guide actually provides, again, a brief overview of what they've been taught and what skills they should be using. So as our sales reps leave this course and are actually working with customers and creating their what we know as elevator pitches or prospecting speeches, the sales managers are able to critique it and provide feedback based on what they learned in the course. So I'm hoping by doing that the learning environment has changed from a classroom workshop to the actual real world, where learning continues and a learning mindset does continue, so that the growth can develop even further, because it's impossible to teach everybody everything they exactly need to know all within 8 hours. So that concludes my presentation on how to establish a learner's mindset in the world of sales. Thank you very much for watching.